Have you ever felt just entirely overwhelmed by the pressure to hustle?
Oh, constantly. It's everywhere.
Right. Like that feeling, that
Yeah.
constant drumbeat expectation
Mm.
to level up, to optimize your morning routine.
Monetize your hobbies.
Exactly. Monetize the hobbies. To achieve this like highly curated, idealized version of success, it is just exhausting.
It really is. And if you happen to be navigating a career transition right now, or maybe, you've recently found yourself unemployed.
Yeah, that pressure doesn't just feel like a suggestion.
Yeah, not at
It
bad.
feels like a physical weight pressing down on your chest. You open your phone, and everyone else seems to be winning while you are somehow, I don't know, just falling behind.
It's a very isolating feeling.
But imagine, just for a second, if someone pulled you aside and told you that the secret to navigating this modern career crisis wasn't a better resume.
Okay.
It wasn't aggressive networking. In fact, the secret was to aim for a thatched hut.
A thatched hut.
Yeah, a thatched hut. And to eat plain steamed bread with pickles and do the exact opposite of what every single person around you is doing.
I mean, that is a complete inversion of how we're taught to think about ambition and survival in the modern economy.
Totally.
We are fundamentally programmed to climb the ladder, right? No matter how slippery the rungs get. Telling someone to step off the ladder entirely and go find a hut it sounds like madness to the modern ear.
But that madness is exactly what we are getting into today in this deep dive. We have this fascinating, genuinely radical, and highly unconventional essay to explore.
It really is something else.
It was written in April 2023 by an author named Xu Feng, and it carries this incredibly striking title. It's called The Splendid Path for Unemployed College Students.
The title itself it presents a massive paradox.
How so?
Well, splendid path and unemployed college students are not phrases you ever see paired together. Usually, unemployment is framed as a disaster.
A total crisis.
Right, a dead end, a crisis to be solved as quickly as possible. But this author is framing it as an opportunity for an entirely new way of living.
Which brings us to our mission today. We are going to explore this author's alternative to modern career anxiety.
And it is a wild ride.
It's a manifesto aimed directly at graduates who are feeling lost in this brutal economy. And it completely throws out the traditional rulebook of success.
Out the window.
So whether you are in the middle of a career crisis yourself, or you're just fascinated by countercultural philosophies, this exploration is going to force you to question your own baseline assumptions.
About wealth, ambition, everything.
Exactly. What actually constitutes a good life. So let's jump right in.
Let's do it.
Before Zhui Feng gives his radical solutions, the thatched hut, the steamed bread, he diagnoses the problem. And he starts by looking at the immense guilt that unemployed young people carry around with them.
Yeah, because when you can't find a job in a society that defines your worth by your job, the default human reaction is to look inward.
You blame yourself.
You agonize over your choices. You think, oh, my resume just isn't formatted right, or I didn't study the right STEM major.
Or I'm just not grinding hard enough.
Exactly. It is a profound internalization of failure.
Or, society points the finger for you. People blame the parents for coddling their kids, or they blame the universities and professors for teaching useless theoretical concepts instead of hard practical skills.
It becomes this giant cyclical blame game.
Right. But Zhu Feng cuts right through all of that noise. He states unequivocally that being unemployed right now is not the fault of the students.
It's not the parents' fault either.
Nope. Not the professor's fault. He argues that it is the fault of the era.
The fault of the era?
Yeah. The historical and economic tide has fundamentally shifted,
Yeah.
and these students are just caught in it.
He uses this really beautiful, kind of heartbreaking metaphor to explain this, actually.
Oh, the flowers.
Yeah, the flowers. He says, imagine it's spring and the flowers are blooming. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to do, but then an unexpected, violent cold snap hits.
And they freeze.
Right, those blooming flowers wither and die. And his point is, you wouldn't blame the flowers for dying.
Of course not.
They didn't lack ambition. They didn't, fail at being flowers. The weather, the cold snap is entirely to blame.
What a powerful psychological reframing.
Isn't it?
Because in a highly competitive society, structural economic issues are almost always disguised as personal failures. Like, if you can't afford a house, it's because you buy too much avocado toast.
Right, not because the housing market is broken.
Exactly. By identifying this systemic cold snap, Xu Feng is effectively clearing the emotional slate for his readers. He's telling them to stop agonizing over their individual shortcomings because they're simply a flower that got hit by an unpredictable frost.
It takes the weight right off their shoulders.
I keep thinking about this like treading water in a rip current. You know, they teach you about rip currents at the beach?
To swim parallel to the shore.
Well, yeah, eventually. But your absolute first instinct when you feel yourself being pulled out to sea is to panic and swim as hard as you can straight back to the shore.
Right against the current.
Right. But if you do that, you just exhaust yourself. Your lungs burn, your muscles give out, and you drown. The current is stronger than you are.
And in this case, the era is stronger than you are.
Exactly. I can only imagine how incredibly relieving it must be for an anxious, burned-out graduate to hear someone finally just say, stop fighting the rip current. It isn't your fault.
That relief is the crucial first step. Because once the student stops blaming themselves, Shifeng points out what is actually making them miserable. And surprisingly, it isn't the lack of a job itself.
What is it then?
The true source of their misery is the societal pressure of what he calls successology.
Successology. He spends a lot of time on this idea, doesn't he?
He really does.
He talks about the constant drive to counterattack, which, just to clarify for anyone unfamiliar with that specific cultural slang, it doesn't mean a literal military strike.
Right, no armies involved.
It's this societal pressure for the underdog to fight their way up the class ladder, to prove all their doubters wrong, and to become this, superior person that everyone else looks up to and envies.
And he goes completely scorched earth on this entire concept.
He really does.
He specifically warns against the desire for quick financial freedom or the dream of entrepreneurship.
Which is crazy because in most modern contexts, those are the ultimate celebrated goals.
Exactly. Be your own boss, make $1 million, escape the rat race. But Shifeng labels these modern aspirations as literal arsenic for life.
Arsenic. I
Yeah.
mean, that is, he doesn't just say ambition is unhelpful. He says it is toxic.
It will poison you.
But I want to dig into the mechanics of that.
Yeah.
Why is wanting to start a business or gain financial independence considered poison in his eyes?
Well, think about the cold snap premise we just discussed. If the economic era is fundamentally broken, if the environment is freezing, then filling a young person's head with dreams of blooming into a billionaire is actually incredibly cruel.
Because it's a lie.
Exactly. It poisons the mind with unattainable desires. You are handing them a map to a destination that no longer exists.
Wow.
Chasing that impossible standard of becoming a superior person in an era that cannot fulfill it will only breed deeper resentment, profound exhaustion, and misery. It's arsenic because it kills your spirit while tricking you into thinking it's the medicine.
That makes perfect sense. I mean, if you're drinking poison every day, hoping it's going to cure you, you are only going to get sicker.
Right.
So if traditional ambition and the pursuit of wealth are the poison, what's the antidote? This is where the essay takes a massive, fascinating turn.
A very sharp left turn.
He moves from diagnosing this societal illness to prescribing a lifestyle that is, it's extreme.
Extreme is the right word. He prescribes a radical asceticism. His first major directive is to lower your material desires to the absolute bare minimum.
And he paints a very vivid picture of what that minimum looks like. He tells the reader to live in a thatched hut.
Wear patched clothes.
Eat plain steamed bread and pickles. Drink plain boiled water. Reject all luxury completely.
He even says you should be willing to beg if necessary.
Which is wild. You are supposed to view yourself as a humble, ordinary blade of grass. And on top of all that, he says, and this is a big one, do not date, do not marry, do not start a family. Your focus should solely be on serving others, not making money.
It's a complete stripping away of the self.
Okay, wait. I have to push back on this for a second.
Before.
Because imagine telling a struggling, unemployed 22-year-old today to just give up on love, move into a literal hut, and eat pickles every day. Isn't that just romanticizing extreme poverty?
I mean, it sounds like it.
It sounds a bit like, oh, you can't find a job in the system. Just pretend you enjoy being destitute. How in the world does that qualify as a splendid path?
That is the totally natural reaction to reading something so severe, right? Especially from a modern perspective where comfort is king. But to understand his argument, we have to view this not as practical financial advice.
Okay, what is it then?
It's a radical philosophy of ego death.
Ego death. Man, that's a heavy concept.
It is.
It makes me think of someone trying to deliberately erase their own LinkedIn profile from their brain. Like stripping away every single piece of their professional identity, their status, their degree, until there's absolutely nothing left to be embarrassed about. Is that the mechanism he's using here?
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it, actually. Think about the anxiety we just discussed, the fear of not being a superior person, the fear of losing your status, the fear of your parents being disappointed.
All the heavy stuff.
Right. Every single one of those anxieties requires an ego. It requires a self-image that can be damaged.
Ah, I see.
So, by telling the student to embrace the absolute bottom, to literally view themselves as a blade of grass, Shifeng is removing the fear of falling.
Because you can't fall any further.
Exactly. If you already live in a thatched hut wearing patched clothes and you are willing to beg for food, society cannot threaten you with poverty anymore. You have already voluntarily accepted it.
The system loses all its leverage over you.
You took their weapon away.
Wow. You can't be terrified of falling off the corporate ladder if you are already lying flat on the ground in the dirt.
Precisely. And the rejection of marriage and family fits into this mechanism as well.
Really? How does that fit in?
Well, in many spiritual traditions, giving up familial attachments isn't about hating your family. It's a way to redirect your devotion.
Okay.
Instead of pouring all your energy into a small, private circle of a spouse and children, you free yourself to dedicate that energy to the entire world.
Which brings us to a really unexpected part of his manifesto.
The synthesis.
Yes. Because once you have emptied yourself of all this capitalist ambition and ego, you have this void. And Feng wants you to fill that void with a wild synthesis of historical and religious figures.
It's quite the lineup.
He explicitly says you need to combine the teachings of Jesus, the Dharma of Buddha, the spirit of Muhammad, and the thinking of Lao Tzu. All four of them.
He is asking the reader to pull the core strengths from each of these distinct traditions to build a completely bulletproof mindset.
But hold on, those are vastly different theologies.
They are.
How does he actually synthesize, say, the asceticism of Buddha with the active love of Jesus to help a young person who is just stressing out about paying rent?
Let's break down the mechanics of that synthesis because it's fascinating. From Buddha, you take the practice of ultimate detachment, recognizing that desiring a fancy car or a high-paying job is the root of your suffering. So you let the ego die.
Okay, that covers the thatched hut part.
Right. Then, from Jesus, you take the mandate of active, unconditional service and love for others, ensuring that your detachment doesn't just turn into selfish apathy.
You're still engaged with people.
Exactly. From Muhammad, you draw on a resolute, disciplined spirit to endure the immense hardship of this path.
Because eating steamed bread every day takes discipline.
A lot of it. And finally, from Lao Tzu, the founder of Taoism, you learn to flow like water, yielding to the world rather than fighting the era.
By combining those, he is completely elevating the listener's identity.
Absolutely.
He takes this unemployed, depressed graduate who feels like a worthless cog because they didn't get a corporate internship, and he says, no, your actual mission is to synthesize the greatest spiritual teachings in human history and bring about world peace.
It's quite the promotion.
It really is. He is transforming them from a failed worker into a spiritual visionary.
It is a profound shift in self-worth. And he wraps this spiritual section up with this incredibly paradoxical goal. He says the ultimate aim is to let everyone own nothing but possess everything.
Own nothing, possess everything. I mean, I love the poetry of that, but what does it actually mean in practice?
Well, owning refers to legal material possession, the deed to a house, the title to a car, the money in a bank account.
The stuff you have to protect.
Right. That kind of ownership ties you to the material world and its endless anxieties. You have to insure it, protect it, upgrade it. Possessing, in this philosophical context, refers to your ability to experience and appreciate the world without needing to hoard it.
Okay, I think I get it.
Think about walking through a beautiful, sprawling public park. You don't own the trees, but you possess the shade, the beauty, the peace they offer in that moment.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it.
By letting go of the desperate need to hoard individual wealth, the arsenic of our era, you suddenly become open to experiencing the immense richness of life without the crushing burden of maintaining it.
Imagine actually applying this to your daily routine today. Just imagine throwing away your smartphone, deleting your social media, wearing the exact same cheap patch t-shirt every day, and finding pure contentment in walking through a park.
It sounds impossible to our modern brains.
It really does. Which leads me to my next big question.
Okay, what is it?
If you have given up on money, you've given up on marriage, you've given up on status, and you are sitting there viewing yourself as a blade of grass, what do you actually do all day?
That's the million-dollar question.
You can't just sit in a thatched hut meditating for the next 50 years, right?
No, not at all. Shifeng is very clear that this is not an invitation to tap out of society and do nothing. In fact, he places a massive emphasis on work.
Work. But I thought we were rejecting success.
We are. But he radically redefines the entire concept of what work is. He argues that labor must be viewed as life's primary need and the ultimate source of joy.
Wait, joy?
Yes, joy. He explicitly tells the reader to reject idleness, reject laziness, reject opportunism, and reject any idea of getting something for nothing. He has this deep, profound praise for the working class.
Okay, so we see a massive contradiction here, but a brilliant one. You were supposed to work incredibly hard, rejecting laziness completely, but you are explicitly not working for the sake of climbing a ladder or building wealth.
Exactly.
To really grasp this aha moment, it makes me think of gardening.
Gardening. Okay, how so?
Well, if you love gardening, spending 3 hours on your knees weeding your own tomato patch is a joy. It connects you to the earth. It feels purposeful.
You're invested in it.
Right. But if a massive corporation pays you minimum wage to weed an office park under a strict, unyielding deadline while a manager yells at you, that exact same physical action becomes a miserable, soul-crushing chore.
That is the perfect distinction.
Schuffing is trying to return all of life's work to the feeling of tending your own garden.
Yes. It separates the physical act of working from the economic reward of working. In the modern world, we almost exclusively view labor as a capitalist transaction. I give you my time, you give me money so I can buy things to make me happy.
The standard deal.
But if you have already eliminated your desire for things, if you are genuinely happy with steamed bread and water, then the transaction is broken. Labor ceases to be a tool for wealth extraction. It becomes a pure expression of service, a way of participating in the human experience with dignity.
But wait, if you've completely removed yourself from the capitalist machine, how do you make daily choices?
What do you mean?
Like, if you aren't following the standard markers of success, like taking the job that pays the most or moving to the city with the best networking, how do you know which direction to take your life?
Xu Feng solves this with a concept called reverse thinking.
Reverse thinking.
Yeah, he draws heavily on the Tao of reversal. He quotes a famous Taoist concept. Reversal is the movement of the Tao.
The practical applications he lays out for this are so direct and uncompromising. He says, if the masses go west, you go east.
Simple as that.
If people rush to the city, you go to the country. If society's obsessed with being practical and producing endless widgets, you should be theoretical or empty.
If the masses curse something, you should praise it.
He essentially wants the reader to overturn all established human views, life, values, the world, morals, to build a higher civilization.
It's a total paradigm shift.
When I first read this, it reminded me of contrarian investing in the stock market. You know, Warren Buffett's famous advice.
Be fearful when others are greedy.
Exactly. Be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. You buy when everyone is selling in a panic. Schuffing is taking that contrarian strategy and applying it to human existence.
I see where you're going with the contrarian angle, but it's actually fundamentally different in its end goal.
How so?
Well, Warren Buffett goes against the herd to get rich. He buys low so he can eventually sell high.
Right, he's playing the game.
Schuffing wants you to go against the herd to become permanently unrich. You aren't buying when others are selling. You are opting out of the market entirely.
Oh, wow. That is a crucial distinction. It isn't a clever trick to win the game later. It's a strategy to destroy the game board.
Exactly. And the philosophical roots here regarding the Taoist concept of reversal are profound. In Taoist thought, the universe operates in cycles, much like a giant pendulum.
Okay, picture the pendulum.
When a pendulum swings entirely to one side, it doesn't just hang there suspended in the air. The extreme accumulation of energy guarantees that it will reverse and swing violently back the other way.
Think about the era we discussed at the very beginning. If the current civilization's values, this relentless pursuit of wealth, the obsession with status, the urbanization of everyone rushing to massive, overcrowded cities.
The arsenic.
Yeah, the arsenic. If all of that has reached its extreme limit, what is the natural result? The result is mass unemployment, deep societal anxiety, and an entire generation of young people who feel like failures despite doing everything right.
The system has swung as far as it can go and has hit a solid brick wall. Therefore, logically, the only way to build a higher civilization is a total, unapologetic inversion of those values.
Extreme urbanization has caused misery, so the correction must be extreme rural minimalism.
Precisely.
So it isn't just about being a rebel for the sake of being edgy or different.
No, not at all.
It is a necessary survival strategy. If a massive cruise ship is sinking on the starboard side because every single passenger ran over there to look at something, the only way to save the ship and yourself is to run to the port side.
That's a great visual.
If the masses are rushing toward a model of success that is currently producing misery, then following the masses is literal suicide. Going east when they go west is the only way to restore balance.
But we have to acknowledge the immense friction of trying to implement this in the real world today.
Oh, for sure.
When an unemployed student decides to serve a society that only values them for their economic output, they are going to look insane to their peers. Your family will worry about you. Your friends won't understand why you aren't updating your resume.
People will think you've lost it.
Choosing this splendid path requires an ironclad resolve.
Let's recap the intense journey we've been on today. We started with the very real, crushing anxiety of the unemployed graduate, gasping for air in a rip current of societal expectations.
And we walked through Shifeng's radical manifesto to cure that anxiety.
First, accepting the cold snap, realizing that the systemic failures of the era are not your personal flaws.
Second, rejecting the poison of modern successology, realizing that the rat race is actually feeding you arsenic.
Third, embracing absolute minimalism down to the patched clothes and plain water to achieve total ego death.
Fourth, adopting a synthesized global spirituality to view yourself as a servant of world peace rather than a failed corporate asset.
And finally, deploying extreme reverse thinking to escape the herd mentality.
And we should look at how Xu closes his essay. After laying out this incredibly demanding philosophy, he doesn't demand compliance.
What does he do?
He issues a very calm, detached ultimatum. He tells the students, the path is laid out before you. If you feel what I've said makes sense and has merit, then follow the path I've paved.
And if they don't?
He says, if you think I am just speaking nonsense and misleading you, then simply keep walking your own path.
He leaves the door completely open. Like, here's the antidote. Drink it if you want, or keep drinking the arsenic. It is entirely up to you.
Which is the ultimate sign of a thinker who has truly detached from the need to control others. He is not a guru demanding followers. He is simply holding up a mirror to society.
We want to ask you, the listener, to use this deep dive as a mirror for your own life today. Even if you don't plan on moving to a thatched hut tomorrow, or giving up your phone, or eating only steamed bread and pickles, this philosophy forces a massive perspective shift.
It really does.
Look at your own life. Which of your daily grinding anxieties are actually just the arsenic of societal expectations? Are you exhausting yourself fighting a rip current that you were never, ever meant to beat?
It forces us to ask what we're actually so terrified of losing.
We spend so much of our limited time on Earth terrified of losing what we have. We fiercely guard our status, we protect our comfortable routines, we obsess over our career trajectories and what other people think of us.
Always looking over our shoulder.
But consider this final thought to mull over as you go about your day. If you were to intentionally strip all that away, if you voluntarily made yourself as ordinary, as humble, and as overlooked as a blade of grass, would you find yourself hopelessly impoverished? Or would you suddenly find yourself completely untouchable by the anxieties of the modern world?